This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in fight camp, it's week 2. Delighted to be joined by Bec Connelly. All right, mate?
Hi, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if people wondering, your hands are, you're sipping.
Sorry, I can't put my cup down.
That's fine.
I literally don't do anything without a cuppa.
Not a problem. Well, you don't do things easy, do you?
Who wants easy fights? No one wants to see easy fights, do they?
Well, just to put that into a little bit of context, obviously your last 3 opponents alone have been obviously Ramona Ali, Rachel Ball. No, Rachel Ball was one before that. Ellie Scotty, then Rachel Ball. But even before that, Jonas, Harper. The list goes on.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier actually. Like everyone always throws out like Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas because they're just like the world champs and world class, and as Rachel's as well. But people forget the likes of like Christine Shergold in my second pro fight. I genuinely thought my hand was going up in that fight. It was my first pro heartbreak, and a few weeks later I watched her get a world title against KUGAN. So that was my first world champ, and then the likes of Elaine Greenan, the Scottish national champion, like that lady's no joke. Like these aren't losses to people that are jokes in any way, shape or form. So we've faced hard people all the way along. There's a couple on my resume. There was one. There was a Spanish girl, which I could have won that fight with my eyes closed, if I'm brutally honest. But I should have been in bed with very, very sick that night. But as a boxer, when you're starting out, you have to sell tickets, and I'd missed weight. I'd sold all these tickets for a really terrible show in Bristol, and the pressure was on, and people had come to see, and it was like, well, you've got flu, you shouldn't be fighting. I just thought, suck it up, Bec. 6 rounds, you'll get home, you can sort it out then. And of course, it was a terrible mistake. And then Ali and Skelly were fights taken on a couple of days' notice, so I don't really beat myself up about that. It's like, touch your toes, let's go. But yeah, the others, I've gone in like to fight, and they've just been class opponents, like really world-class opponents. So yeah, had a good resume, really.
Yeah, I mean, no one can dispute your resume. Do you think the fact that all these people are on your resume is a reason why they keep going on your resume? If the kind of people look at it and think, well, she's fought all these, let's offer her this fight, because like literally over the last sort of 10 fights especially, you're talking about kind of the best women that there are in this country.
They're all coming up and through, and I think we're going to see a massive change in women's pro boxing now. We're already seeing it when they started letting the Olympics and amateurs come over into the pros and mix it up. You just knew the platforms were going to change massively, but there wasn't the depth of the divisions before. We were talking about this. You had the good fighters and you had the world-class fighters, and there was no one bridging that gap. And you don't get the journey women so much like you do with the men. Like even the Eastern European girls, they're fierce as hell. Like they all come to fight. Like they're no pushover fights. But I kind of like, I sit in the middle. If you can't get past Connelly, you ain't going all the way, is how I see it, as and how debutees should be seeing it. They should be like, this is the gatekeeper and this is the benchmark, and you either fall short or you're going and you're stepping in the footsteps of all the top class girls.
See, yeah, I would agree in the fact of, I think when promoters and managers are looking for opponents, which is not easy to match even a girl for their debut, but they kind of will look at you and think, you know what you're getting, you know exactly what Bec Connelly is going to bring, and they kind of, it's almost like you're strategically picked for the rounds in their eyes. And I think, I don't know if that really helps you out, not because you're getting offered all these kind of world-class girls, but Ebony Bridges obviously coming off the back of her first loss as a professional to Shannon Courtney a few months ago. Is this a different type of opponent to what you're kind of used to fighting over your last few fights, or how do you bracket this with Ebony Bridges?
Yeah, I enjoyed the fight. I don't know about everyone else, but that's the kind of fight that I really like. And I almost consider it like 2 different sports, the amateur dancing around, stinging shots style to what those 2 brought. And I really like it, and I'm a big fan of that. Again, Ebony, Ali, those kind of girls were the kind of girls that we wanted fights with. I think people also forget you're more than just a boxer, like your outside life, like you've just become a dad, like it comes with you to work, like you can't always park it on the shelf, and there is stuff going on, and you're not always the best version of Bec, and but I always bring everything I've got at that time, so I know I can never do more than I've given, so yeah, do the same Saturday.
It was Shannon Courtney's fight with Ebony Bridges was a great advert, first of all, for women's boxing. A lot of judgmental people kind of making more comments on what attire they were going to turn up in, let alone the fight. But when the fight happened, it was almost like all that stuff had literally been put to bed, and it was like we saw the state of Ebony Bridges' face. Her eye was kind of coming out. But the fight itself was as entertaining as entertaining a fight in boxing, not just with men and women, just in general.
Yeah. No, I thought exactly the same, and it's the kind of fight that I like to watch. I was totally entertained, and like I say, everyone sells their game differently. People forget also, like, it is a warrior sport, and there is integrity in sport, and all those wonderful things that I'm a big fan of. But it's also a business. Boxing is a business. It's the hurt game, and if someone's found a way to sell their game like strongly and do that differently, then who is anyone to knock that sort of thing? Like, crack on, everyone does their own thing. I mean, it would be as ridiculous as me coming out here and like trying to trash talk or something. They'd be like, what is that girl doing? Like, it just wouldn't work, would it? Because it's not me. But I think Ebony sold her game really well. And like you say, once the fight starts, no one cares about any of the extra stuff. But I mean, if I was getting $2,000 for a pair of socks, I'd be like selling that as well. I was like, I have plenty of socks spare if anyone wants to buy any.
She just revealed off camera a couple of messages that obviously she'd received like in the last 24 hours, and it's incredible, like just what goes on through people's minds to kind of DM her or you or anyone about this kind of stuff is mad.
So hard because like obviously I'm not very good with technology or social media or anything, so mine's like nothing compared to Ebony's, but I still like some days are shocking. I'm like, what possesses a person in the morning to think I know what I'll do? That complete stranger on the internet, she'd love a picture of my penis followed up by, and I'm like, no, please don't do that. I can't unsee that on a Monday morning.
The funniest thing is, you made that reference to what the DM was, and when I was talking to Ebony about it, she was then explaining why that's the case, because I said it was a bit weird, and she went, well, no, actually, if your brain, she was like, your brain is engaged with your feet, and she'd come up with this whole terminology, which she'd obviously researched to know why she's possibly getting these DMs, but anyway.
Hell yeah, I'd sell anything if it make me a quick buck. But yeah, I do find it a little bit amusing and a little bit worrying sometimes what goes through these people's minds. I think no, what was it? The funniest one wanted me to post pictures of him on Facebook and like really like be degrading about him, and I was like, maybe you should get the cash up front before we start doing this. It's really, really strange.
That sounds it. They're not here anyway, are they? No.
Well.
What can we expect from you on Saturday night, and what kind of fight can we expect between you and Ebony on Saturday night?
You're going to get the best version of Bec. I have had 6 weeks this time. This is my weight division, so that alone is like a massive boost. But like I say, I don't fight with ego, I fight with heart. We're also like, experience is only any good if you use it, isn't it? And I do have the experience. There's nothing, unless she comes out with like Chun-Li Street Fighter arms, like computer game style, that we haven't faced, whether it's southpaw, fast, quick start, pressure fighters, on the back foot. Like, there's not anything new. There's nothing new coming at me. I'd be stupid if I just looked at their last fight and said that's what she's going to do. If I was the coach there, I'd be saying you're stupid to sit inside with this girl. This girl's got a chin, like she likes to tear up. If that happens, I'm getting the fight that I love, like, and happy days, because let's face it, It takes a lot of effort to chase someone down, doesn't it? You're falling short, you're walking onto shots. But again, you just don't know. You just got to fight the fight that's in front of you. I'm going to fight my fight, and yeah, she can only do the same, really.
Well, it promises hopefully to be a very interesting night. There's a lot of heavyweight action going on. We've got the world title fight between Galahad and Dickens. Team Dickens sitting next to us. Yeah, your fight.
They got really excited about that fight.
So it should be an interesting night in Eddie Hearn's back garden.
I know. How cool is that, though? You don't get too many opportunities like that. And I just think, like, I've read, like, I try not to read too much into what other people say. I'm like big on like let everyone be, do their own thing, stay in your own lane. But you can't help but read some of the comments, like, and I just think, well, hang on a minute. No, we do deserve to be here. Like, I have put myself through mental and physical everything for 10 years straight. Like, not everyone can be lucky enough to be born talented. Not everyone can be lucky enough to have been put in sports when they were little. Like, you get dealt the cards you're dealt, and I've just tried to make the most of them. I was 28 years old before I put a pair of boxing gloves on, and I'm now boxing in Eddie Hearn's back garden. Like, I'm doing all right.
Okay, well, Bec, have you got anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
No, just going to enjoy the whole experience, I think. And I was saying earlier, I hope when my time does come to leave British boxing, that I've left my mark and that everyone knows what I'm about, and that I always came to go to war, that I was never a pushover fight, and I was never just someone in the way. And I'll be happy to leave my head held high with that, yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've already done that. So, Bec, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV and giving us some of your time. It's only Wednesday today, so still another 3 days to go. Presser tomorrow, obviously.
I'm not having no biscuits. It's all about the food.
All right, Friday, come about 1:30. I think you'll be fine. So.
I'll be banging. I've got Craig with me this time, and he fights professional MMA, and he's such a stickler for doing the refeed and the refuel. And he's like, "What do you normally do?" And I'm like, run to the hotel room and stuff my face till I can't move and then sleep it off. It's like, no. It's like, you're taking the joy out of the weigh-in.
Oh dear. Bec, again, thank you very much, and wish you the best of luck on Saturday night, and we'll try and grab a word for you before then.
Oh, thank you very much.